Okay, picture this. You've got a really crucial document. Maybe it's your birth certificate, could be a marriage license, immigration papers, maybe even, your diploma.
Right.
And you need it translated. But crucially, it's not just any translation. It has to be accepted by someone official, a government agency, a court, maybe an embassy, a university. Have you ever felt that little bit of anxiety thinking, how do I find a service I can actually trust to get this done right and, fast?
Yeah, that pressure is real.
Because figuring out that whole landscape of certified document translation, it can feel pretty daunting. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've looked at a stack of source material, all centered around certified translation services. And there's a particular provider mentioned quite a bit, International Translation Service. They seem to operate a lot through translatedpage.com.
Right, that name pops up consistently.
So our mission here in this deep dive is really to unpack what these sources are telling us. What do they actually reveal about, who needs these services? What kinds of documents are we talking about?
Yeah.
Where might you find this provider? And maybe what they claim makes them stand out. We're aiming to pull out the key insights so you can get a clearer picture, both of this specific provider and, I guess, the world of certified translation generally.
And it's fascinating, isn't it, how the stakes are just so much higher than, say, translating a website or something casual?
Exactly. When official bodies are involved, it's suddenly not just about getting the words right.
No, it's about proving the translation is a true and accurate copy of the original. You often need that formal statement, maybe a seal, something that carries real legal weight.
And looking at these sources, the documents they handle are fundamental. Things like birth certificates, marriage licenses, death certificates, the major life events.
The core identity documents, really.
But then it goes further, right into official processes. Driver's licenses, court documents, legal documents, and specifically immigration documents. They even mention USCIS.
Yes, USCIS comes up.
Plus academic stuff, diplomas, transcripts. That list alone tells you how tied certified translation is to just navigating life, whether it's across borders or within formal systems here.
And that really raises the question, why these specific documents?
Right.
Well, as you pointed out, it boils down to official use, whether it's for court or applying for residency, citizenship with U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, USCIS, the main agency handling immigration here, or even getting foreign academic credentials evaluated for school or work. These institutions, they need certainty. They absolutely demand proof the translation is accurate, that it hasn't been, messed with.
So the certification is key.
Exactly. That certification from the translator or the agency, and sometimes, that extra step of notarization that gives them the assurance they need, it provides that essential layer of trust.
Okay, what else jumps out from these sources? The languages caught my eye.
Yes, the language.
They list the common ones you'd expect, like Spanish, French, Arabic, Chinese.
Sure, standard stuff.
But then they also list Greek, German, Haitian, Hindi, Italian, Portuguese, Romanian, Russian, Vietnamese. The list goes on. It expands the reach quite a bit.
It does.
And here's where it gets really interesting, I think. They make this claim, pretty bold claim, of translating into over 89 other languages.
89 other languages. That's quite a number.
It really is. That sheer breadth, assuming it's accurate, tells you something about the scale they're aiming for or the network they have. It reflects just how global the need for these services is.
Absolutely. People are coming from everywhere needing documents recognized.
Okay, so if you do need one of these documents translated and certified, where do you actually go? Or what's the process like based on what these sources say?
Well, geographically, they paint a picture of a pretty strong regional presence.
Yeah, I saw that. They mentioned specific places like Boston, Burlington, Cambridge, Lowell, Lawrence, Lynn, Malden.
Right, and Nashua, New Hampshire, and Waltham, Massachusetts, too. It's quite a cluster.
And it's interesting how they describe it, too. One source says, in the heart of Boston. Another highlights Lawrence, M.A., quite prominently. And then a contact address points to Tewksbury, M.A.
So multiple points of contact mentioned across eastern Mass and southern New Hampshire.
What does that suggest, do you think?
Well, this multi-location presence, it likely means better accessibility for you if you're in that specific Massachusetts or New Hampshire area. It's targeting a particular, probably linguistically diverse regional population.
So a commitment to serving those local communities.
Seems like it. Even if some are just administrative points or drop-off spots, It offers more than just one central office, but crucially, the sources also really emphasize another way to access them.
The online route.
Exactly. Their online process.
Right, because the materials lay out this very streamlined, almost consumer-friendly online method. It's summed up in 3 steps. Place the order, attach document, and receive translation.
Very simple.
Which points to that website, translatedpage.com, being the main hub. It suggests you can handle pretty much everything remotely through a secure checkout, apparently.
Which really speaks to convenience and efficiency, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It seems designed for, well, the world we live in, where people need things quickly, often remotely.
Yeah, definitely. If you're stressed about hitting a deadline for some official submission, being able to just upload your document and manage it all online, that directly addresses that need for remote and fast service. It complements that regional physical presence they seem to have.
A sort of hybrid approach.
So, okay, given all that, why do these sources argue you should choose this provider specifically? They make some pretty strong claims.
They do. They make a case.
They really highlight that their translations are certified and notarized, which, as we've discussed, is vital for official acceptance. They emphasize quick processing, efficiency, and then there's the big one, a very significant claim that they are trusted by major government offices, including USCIS and embassies around the globe.
And the significance of being trusted by places like USCIS and embassies. For official documents, that's huge.
Yeah. Tell me more about that.
Well, think about it. If you're submitting documents for immigration, or maybe a visa, or trying to use them overseas, that trust factor is everything. It implies their translation is likely to be accepted without, hassles or delays. That gives you significant peace of mind, as the sources actually put it.
Peace of mind.
And maybe we should clarify those terms a bit more. Certified generally means the translator or the agency gives you a signed statement saying, yes, this translation is accurate and complete.
Okay.
Notarized adds another layer. A public notary verifies the identity of the person who signed that certification. They witness the signature.
Got it. And there was another term, apostille.
Ah, yes, apostille. That's a specific type of certification. It's often needed when you're using official documents internationally, specifically in countries that are part of something called the Hague Apostille Convention.
Okay.
It basically authenticates the seal and signature on the document itself, like the notary's seal or a state official signature, so it can be accepted in another member country without needing more layers of legalization. It's that extra step for international recognition, like the testimonial mentions needing it for Mexico.
Ah, okay. So, certified, notarized, apostille, different levels depending on where the document needs to go.
Exactly. You need to know which one is required for your specific situation.
Now, let's talk about the speed claim. The sources seemed a little different here, which I thought was interesting.
Yes, the timeline.
One mentions delivery in days, sometimes hours, which sounds incredibly fast, maybe almost too fast for official documents.
Sometimes hours definitely catches the ear. It suggests extreme speed is possible.
But then another source is more specific. It says, most translations will be delivered to you in 2 to 4 days.
Right, which sounds, perhaps, a bit more like a standard baseline for this kind of work.
So it raises a question, doesn't it? What determines the timeline? The sources imply speed, but don't fully explain that difference.
Exactly. Does sometimes hours refer to, say, a very short, simple document, like a single page? Or maybe it's a premium rush service they offer that isn't fully detailed.
Indeed.
The 2 to 4 days seems like a more typical turnaround you might expect for, say, a birth certificate or a diploma. But, even 2 to 4 days is still quite quick for a certified process.
True. It still reinforces their general claim of speed, but it's worth noting those slightly different expectations the sources might set.
Definitely something to clarify if you were using the service.
What really brings these claims home, though, is the specific testimonial included in the sources.
Ah, the user feedback. Always helpful.
Yeah, it's from a Sarah Gomez in Boston, MA. She talks about needing her birth certificate translated and apostilled for use in Mexico.
Okay, so a real-world case involving that international apostille step.
Right. And she says, let me find the quote. I needed my birth certificate translated and apostilled for Mexico, and translatedpage.com made the process so easy. She mentions being stressed about the timing.
Understandable.
But says, they handled everything quickly and professionally. The translation was perfect, and the apostille was accepted without any issues. She also appreciated updates and attention to detail, and ends with, highly recommend.
Wow, okay. That testimonial really hits on all the key claims, doesn't it?
It seems to.
Ease of process, speed, professionalism. and crucially, the successful outcome. The fact that the translation and the apostille were accepted in Mexico, that's the bottom line for the user.
Yeah, her comment about being stressed about getting everything done in time really highlights that pressure you might feel.
Absolutely. And her mentioning the updates and attention to detail, that speaks directly to that peace of mind aspect the provider seems to be emphasizing. It grounds all those claims in a specific positive user experience described in the source.
So, okay, let's try and pull all of this together. What does this deep dive into these particular sources mean for you, the listener, if you ever find yourself needing certified translation?
Right. What are the key takeaways?
Well, based on these materials, we've seen this provider claims to handle a really wide range of official documents and frankly, a vast number of languages. Suggests they can meet pretty diverse needs. They seem to serve that specific regional area, MA and NH, quite strongly, but also offer that convenient online process through their website.
The hybrid model again.
And their main emphasis really is on speed, getting the critical certifications right, certified, notarized, apostilled, and building trustworthiness, which they back up with claims about being trusted by government bodies like USCIS and embassies and, well, that user testimonial we just discussed.
So if we synthesize that information, drawing insights purely from these sources, it highlights the critical factors you'd need to evaluate when looking for any certified translation service, really. Well, first and foremost, confirming they provide the exact type of certification you need. Is it just certified? Do you need notarization? Or is it for international use requiring an apostille? That has to be right.
Okay, step 1, verify the certification level.
Step 2, understand the realistic turnaround time. Balance those claims of speed, like sometimes hours, with what seems to be the more standard service window, like that 2 to 4 days. Get clarity on what applies to your specific document.
Makes sense. Check the timeline.
Third, obviously verify they handle your specific document type and your specific language pair, especially if it's one of the less common ones among those 89 plus they claim.
Good point. Check document and language coverage.
And finally, if possible, look for evidence of reliability and positive user experience, like that testimonial. It provides some validation for the service claims.
So check certification, check timeline, check coverage, and look for user feedback. Seems like solid advice based on what we've seen in these sources.
It gives you a framework, at least, for navigating this based on what these materials suggest is important.
Well, that was a pretty fascinating look into the world of certified translation services, all through the lens of these specific sources.
It certainly was. It touches on so many aspects.
Yeah.
Legal systems, immigration, global movement.
And maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to consider building on everything we've just unpacked. In a world that's just increasingly connected, right? Where crossing borders for work or family or just life is more and more common. How does this seemingly simple act, just translating a piece of paper, become such a fundamental bridge, a bridge between different legal systems, different cultural contexts?
That's a great point. And maybe what does the very necessity for certified accuracy, for these official stamps and seals, tell us about the intricate systems of trust and verification that we all have to navigate in this globalized world?
Something to definitely reflect on, the importance of detail and trust in all these official processes we encounter.